So we're with Roshni today, who is one of our recent graduates. She went from working as a graphic designer and having her own graphic design agency to working in remote sales. I guess I'll hand over to you, Roshni, to tell us a little bit about where you're from, how you got into sales, and what made you want to make the transition.
Okay, so hi, my name's Roshni. I am 27 to 26 years old. I'm 26 years old. I live in the UK and my background is in graphic design and marketing. And I just recently got into sales, I think about a couple months ago. Um, and yeah.
So tell us a little bit about what made you want to get into graphic design, how long you've been doing it, and just a little bit about the career itself.
Yeah, so I stumbled on graphic design. I was doing German, didn't like it, and I was like, okay, what else is available? I heard graphic design. I didn't have a clue what it was, but I just tried it out, and it's been a love affair since GCSE level. So I was pretty young, and I just fell in love with it, and I continued it from GCSE level to A level to degree level and got my job down in London after graduation. And it was just something where I could be really creative because I'm definitely more on the creative side than kind of like the more, technical side. So it kind of gave me the escape of being creative and kind of that world. And I kind of knew I wanted to pursue it because every time I did a project or did an exam, it made me happy. And I knew I wanted to do something in my life that made me happy. So I did it all the way to degree level, then got a job down in London for a design and marketing agency. I was there for about a year and then got made redundant and then started my own agency after that. So that's kind of my journey through graphic design itself. Um, my background, I have like a family business, so I knew I always wanted to start my own business at some point. I just didn't think it'd come this soon, but it did, and I kind of rolled with it, and it's been a journey. But then since doing my agency, I knew I was kind of missing something or lacking something, and then that's when I kind of looked into what that was, and I figured it was sales, and that's how I'm here today.
Yeah, amazing. And tell us a little bit about the job itself. So you did mention you were made redundant, but did you like the job that you were doing? And when you did transition into building your own business, how long kind of did it take for you to decide, yeah, I want to build my business and then actually taking the leap?
Yeah, so I was really excited when I first got it because I think during the whole COVID time, everything was kind of up in the air. I didn't even think I could get a job, but I did. And so I was really happy. I was doing the commute from Leicester to London 3 days a week. And I loved it. I loved learning from senior designers. I loved learning from a business point of view, kind of because I kind of just said to everyone, look, I'm a sponge and I really want to learn everything that I can. So it was nice in that sense and being able to collaborate as well. But after a while, it kind of took a toll on me, the traveling part. It was like door to door about 18 hours. So it was just a lot. So I started to work from home a little bit more until they wanted me back in the office, which I think it was a ruse. I think they were hoping for me to say, no, I can't do it. But then a couple months after I was going into the office, I got made redundant. And I kind of was sat thinking, okay, I could get another design job, but because I don't have any real responsibilities, like I don't have a kid, I don't have a mortgage, why not just give the business a go and just start something for myself? And I definitely learned a little bit, I definitely learned about management from my role down in London and kind of transferred it to my agency, but it was just a completely different ball game. Unfortunately, I didn't learn as much as I wanted to down in London that could have helped me prep for starting my own thing. But it was great in the sense of I was learning it on my own. Yes, I was making those mistakes, but I was learning and figuring it out. So there were some aspects that were transferred to my agency, but not all of them. And again, I fell in love with it because I think I love the idea of working down in London and living that life and kind of working for an agency. And then it quickly turned into kind of almost like the British dream, the American dream of like it's not everything that you think it is.
No.
Um,
No, and a lot of people can probably relate to that, Roshni. I know, a lot of our kind of members previously had corporate jobs or maybe worked full time where they were having to commute to the job. And that's a lot of time to be putting into commuting. So with that job and before you moved into your business, what did you feel like you were unable to do that you wished you could have been able to do?
Well, traveling that much for a job just was unrealistic, let's be honest. And because it took a toll on my health, it was something that I just didn't. I was waking up thinking, I don't want to go into work because I just felt exhausted. So that ability to kind of have the time for myself to do whatever I wanted, and work kind of at home, I did get that. I got it for 2 days, but traveling door to door and it takes 18 hours, it's exhausting. So I didn't feel like I was getting enough recognition that I was doing that commute. And I don't think I was getting enough grace of I'm spending so much time at this job technically. So it was the time thing was hard because I would be coming home at around 8 p.m. And by that time, it's like, okay, I have to have dinner or I have to go to the gym. When do I have time to spend with my loved ones? I just don't. And obviously, spending that money, taking a train down to London, it's an expense. And it wasn't covered for me. So it was coming out of my income. So it was kind of a bit like I'm traveling all this way, I'm losing time with loved ones, and I'm also spending a lot of money on trains. I was happy to do it because it was my first role. But to be sustainable, I knew it wasn't kind of the job that I would be in forever.
Yeah.
Um,
And
so I
that makes sense, right? Because you also said that what prompted you to start your business was being made redundant. So it kind of feels like you're already on that path to potentially make a change. I guess for you, Roshni, it's amazing that you took that leap and did that, but it sounds like you made the right choice. You were starting a business, which was something you've always wanted to do. What then made you kind of say be drawn to sales, or what kind of stood out to you about sales?
I think I always knew it was my weakest point. It was my weakest skill. And I always knew at one point I need to develop that skill, however that looked like. Um, because I can be quite honest with myself, and go, okay, this is where you're really good and this is where you're not so good. And I think when you're a business woman or a business person, um, you need to be really transparent and go, okay, these are the things I need to work on. And I think once I realized that, I kind of was doing my own research, like listening to podcasts, reading the books, like trying to find people. And I did, but I always knew I needed someone to teach me and to kind of guide me through it and potentially go somewhere else to learn it to then bring it back into my agency, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess, that's a very common feeling amongst, say, not just business owners, but even people who are looking to learn a new skill. So, what I guess was going through your mind when you were having these kind of thoughts about wanting to learn sales for your business, but then also, how did you hear about us and what drew you to us specifically?
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of hard to say to myself, you're shit at this or you're really bad at this, because you don't want to admit that, do you? No one wants to kind of go, I'm really bad at this thing. But it was important for me to learn that because if I don't learn the skill, then my business suffers. And everything I wanted that I wasn't getting from my old job, like time, like freedom financially, I wouldn't be getting those things or I wouldn't be living that in abundance. So it was very important for me to kind of try and hone in on that skill. And I found you guys because obviously I know you personally from school. And I kind of knew about your journey via like social media. And I thought because I have this relation and I know you're a real person, um, and because I was thinking of making that change for so long, I just thought, okay, let me reach out and see because the skepticism of I've heard about sales and high ticket sales a lot, right, through my research. And I always thought it was a gimmick or it was a lie of some sort. And no way. There's just no way. So for me, it was more of like I need someone to tell me if it's real or not. So that's when I reached out to you because I knew I could trust you to go, hey, like I'm in this position. I'm not hitting the goals I want. I want this transferable skill for my agency as well. And I think that's when kind of we sat down and spoke about my goals and kind of went on this journey together, that's been really helpful because I think a lot of people, I know a lot of people that are really are skeptics about this kind of industry in sales and high ticket sales specifically, because you get told, oh, you can make X amount of money, and you kind of sit there and go, how? But you getting in this process, you realize how it's just by working hard and being committed to something. And I think that's what isn't being told in the industry. So having someone like you that's personal, that I can speak to and kind of go, hey, these are my queries, and you can go, well, let's talk about that and let me squash them for you or tell you what the truth actually is, kind of made me go, okay, then this is something I want to do. Because again, if it's a skill I need to learn it now. It's too late to do it, the next day or the next week. So yeah.
Yeah, and I was surprised when you reached out, right? Because like you said, you have a business, that's something you've always wanted to do. So for you, it's not like you were looking immediately to jump into a sales role. You were looking to learn sales, to apply it to your own business to increase your own revenue. So, for you, besides knowing me personally, kind of what made you decide to go ahead with this? Like what made you say yes, not only to learning sales, but also to working with us?
I think it's the personability that comes with this. Like I was away and you sent me a message saying, I think this would really help you, and sending links and kind of being really personal about it, because I've looked at other places before and it's very much like, here's the resources, you do what you need to do. Whereas with yourselves, it's very different. It's how can we train you for what you want specifically? It's not like a rap sheet that's given to everyone that's the same. It's very bespoke to what you need or where your skill set's at, or what you think we need to learn. So I think that's what made me go, yeah, definitely I want to do that, because I have some sort of skill, right? I'm not starting from scratch, but I need to hone in on that skill in a specific way. So it feels very tailored to me. And again, that personal approach of, I found this might really help you, go have a look at it, kind of thing. So that was really the driving force of going, yeah, I definitely want to do this. And I know this is the right fit for me.
Yeah, I really appreciate that, Roshni. And it's definitely true. We take a much more personalized approach. So would you say, besides say knowing us or knowing me personally and then the personalized approach, was there anything else that you felt like made you want to work with us versus say all the other programs and kind of options out there in the market right now for sales?
I think one of the highlights about yourselves is that your goal is to place people. And I think that's very different from how other people do it. It's great learning the skill, but then if you don't know where to take that skill, what's the actual point? It's good for me, for someone like me who has a business that they can apply it to, but people that kind of want this role full time, or kind of want to be placed in a high ticket sales role, where do we find that? And connections clearly is a big thing. So going through the program and then going, we're going to place you. And I think that's a massive kind of green flag, or a tick box, in the sense of no one else offers that. So it feels like we're learning something to then apply the skill, rather than learning it and then going, good job, and then walking away.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that too, Roshni. You did incredibly well, to land your role before the 12-week program even finished. So I'm sure a lot of people would love to hear about your story specifically. So tell us a little bit about your role, where you're at now, and also how you kind of completed the training and transitioned into a role.
Yeah, so obviously mine's pretty unique in the sense of, before I was even done with training, I landed a role. And because I don't have experience in high ticket sales, instead of getting the role of a closer, which I am becoming, I got offered the role as a setter, which is great because you kind of learn that skill on the job and as you go. So whilst we were kind of going through our training, I already had the kind of role. And we, again, like, you tailored it to the offer and to the position I was in, that where it would help me kind of do really well in a setting role, but also prep me for being a closer. Um, and so I think that's very unique in that sense. But currently, I'm making that transition from a setter to a closer. And again, like with you guys, it's great because you're there all the way and you're helping us through that transition instead of going, you like most people probably would, you're on your own, you've got to do that yourself. So I'm currently transitioning from being a setter to a closer, and I'm really excited for that. And yeah.
Yeah, and I'm really excited to see that journey for you, Roshni. I guess what would you tell, say, someone who's on the fence, kind of looking to want to work with not only us but also to learn sales, and maybe has to start with a setter role? Like, what's been your experience with, say, the transition, and also how has it felt to, say, land that role so quickly, even though your training was not complete?
Um, To answer your last question, it was exciting, like very, very exciting, I have to say. Um, but again, that's what makes you guys so unique because I guess for everyone it's very different in how they get the role, when they get it. But with you guys, it's even though I got it really early, we kind of made sure that the training was appropriate for what I'm doing now and what I've got, so my role. And obviously the transition now from being a setter to a closer is great with you guys because again, like you're not leaving me in the dark of going, figure it out for yourself. You're kind of advising and giving that insight that most people wouldn't probably get. And I can only say it from my point of view, but I feel like it's setting me up to do my best kind of job in the closing role. And I think if one piece of advice I would just tell people, if they're skeptical, is I was, and I'm not afraid to say that I was sat in this call, because it does feel gimmicky, it does sound gimmicky, but if you're the type of person that's willing to put in the effort, if you're the type of person that's willing to give up a small amount of your time, in the kind of grand scheme of things, then you're not really losing anything because you're going to gain a skill. And with you guys, you're gaining a skill, but you're also helping to place us to use that skill and train us. And I also think that you're very much the kind of people where even if I've got a role like I do now, you're not like, you've got a role, great, we did our job. Like it's constant, how's it going? Do you need advice? Like, do you need that help? And you're there for like almost like a guidance thing, which is lovely. Like if I need help and I'm saying, oh, this call didn't go well, I know you're going to say, let's review it, let's go through it, and you're going to help me. So if you're someone that's willing to put in time and effort and really give something a go. And I mean, not like, oh, an hour a day, like really give something a go. And you want to have the benefit of having a financial value from that. I would definitely use you guys.
Yeah, the constant support, I would say, is definitely very important to us. And, Roshni, you mentioned a little bit about what the transition was like from setting to closing. And I can completely relate on the skepticism thing because even me personally, I was in such a stable job and I took the leap, same as you did, to pursue this industry when I had the same doubts and fears to begin with. But it's always like that on the other side until you actually get into it and see it for yourself, right? And then you realize a lot of the myths and beliefs you had were not actually true. And like with anything, the more work you put in and the harder you work, the more the rewards are and the better your results. So for you, Roshni, tell us a little bit about the current role, kind of the industry that you're in and how much you're on track to make. And if I understood correctly from our call before, you are making more than you were making in your previous graphic design job.
Yeah, yeah. So the current offer is in actually social media and branding and marketing, which obviously is a perfect fit for me, because it aligns with what my life is about. And I'm definitely making more than I would at my agency. But then transitioning into the closing role, I know I'm on track to making kind of the goal I wanted to when I thought about doing this. So on that kind of 7K mark a month. And I know because I've seen it and I'm now in it that that's like a limited number. So for me, it's if I work harder and if I keep, honing in on this skill, that's not the limit, and the limit is whatever I want it to be. So in that sense, it's great because I'm in control of how much I work, and that means I'm naturally in charge of how much I make. So if one month I go, you know what, I want to grind my ass off and I want to make 15K this month, I know what I've got to do, and it's not limiting like other jobs, like most jobs are. So I'm on track to like the 7K, which I'm really happy about. But I know that that's not the actual end goal and that's not the
And
end
that's
number.
and that I just want to say is amazing, by the way. For your first month, you're doing incredibly well. And I would 100% echo what you said, that you can make as much as you kind of want to, provided you're willing to put in the effort. And unfortunately, in many jobs, that's not the case because there is an income ceiling. So with sales, it's not passive income, it's not a get rich quick scheme. You do have to put in the work, but the rewards are great, as I said earlier, if you do put in that work. So for you, Roshni, in contrast to your previous job, what do you feel like you can do now that you couldn't do before, now that you are in this industry? And for you as well, you're in a unique position because not only are you going to be working as a closer, but you're also applying the skill to your own business, which is so exciting.
Yeah, it is. It's really exciting. I feel like in business sense, it's great and it's like a whole new world now. But it again, like it gives me that time freedom. It gives me that financial freedom. You know, I currently rely on someone financially, which I hate, and I've been taught never to be that way, but it's just happened. And to be able to go, okay, in about a month's time, I'll be free in that sense. It's kind of like a relief, but then also to be able to spend time with family and friends and kind of do what I want to do, or kind of go, okay, let's go and do this, or let me treat you to that, or kind of doing things like that. That's kind of the the point where I kind of have been like, oh, I've made it, or I've achieved my goal. And it's a lovely feeling, I have to say.
Yeah, and from our many conversations, I know that was really, really important to you. Because I even remember our first call where you were saying, for you having that sense of independence and autonomy with your finances is really important to you. And I know for many, many women, this is the case, right? They want to have a sense of control with their income and be able to earn from themselves. And although it's always nice to have someone providing and taking care of you, just having that choice when if you do want to make your own money, you can, is very freeing for many people. So for you, Roshni, I guess to wrap this up, what would you tell someone that's maybe on the fence in similar kind of position to you when you first started and is watching this right now? What would you tell them about taking the next step?
I'd say that if if you want to make a change in your life, you've got to do something. And again, like you said earlier, it's not a get rich quick scheme. It's if you're going to put in the time, if you have the time, if you have the dedication towards something, then do it. And the thing with this whole thing is that the more time you put in, the more you're going to get back. And you just have to get over that hurdle and kind of reframe your mindset to I'm learning a skill and I'm going to be able to apply it. And if you're that confident in yourself, why wouldn't you? If you're so sure about making a change in your life and you're dedicated to make a commitment in terms of time, why wouldn't you? It seems silly to not, because it's a skill that's transferable to anything that you do. So it's not like you're going to be wasting your time or wasting your money because you'll use it for the rest of your life. So it's kind of a win-win either way. So
I
if you're
100% agree. What would you tell the woman that maybe thinks that and knows that, but is still a bit unsure? Maybe she's read things online about sales being gimmicky, or maybe she's unsure whether it would work for her, or maybe she's just like, oh, I don't know. She perceives it as a risk, just like we both did when we first started. So, what would you tell that woman listening right now? What do you think she would need to know from you?
I would say speak to someone that's actually done it, been there and done it. You know, I did that with you, and I remember I point blank asked you like, what is it? Is it real? So I think if you're still a little bit unsure, speak to someone like yourself and kind of ask the questions, because you or just bite the bullet and just go, I'm never going to know unless I do it. And it's just as simple as that. I can't give any other advice than go, if you're unsure, gain that clarity from someone that's in it, someone that's done it, or just do it and just see for yourself and do your research, and listen to the testimonials and kind of do your research on who you're going to use and, how they work as well, because you need someone that's going to speak your language in terms of how to teach you and how to position you. And, the good thing about you guys is that you do that. You speak everyone's language and assess them in different areas in different ways. And you've got to find the right fit for you, but you'll never know unless you just do it.
I love that. I love that. And you said this earlier as well, like what's the worst that can happen? I think if
Yeah.
you look at it from that perspective, what is the worst that can happen, right? You invest time, you still learn a really great skill, and you get a placement guarantee, you get support. So, worst case scenario, one of the very few people that doesn't get placed, well, you've still learned a skill, you've still gained a community, you've still tried something new, and you've proven to yourself that you can do something, even if you're afraid and it's something new. So I would agree with that. Thank you so much for sharing, Roshni. I'm sure this will be really helpful for people who are a bit on the fence. And I'm sure there's many women out there who are similar to you, creatives, maybe not even from a corporate background, that can relate, but also hearing your story will help them feel kind of not alone and inspired. So thank you.
Oh, of course, of course.